So one of those summer courses was in Exeter in 1986. I attended there, and there I met Professor Dominic Lassoc and was associated and learned the way he was teaching. And when Turkey applied to EU for membership, April 14, 1987, our university remembered that I made a proposed draft bill for establishing Europa College or Europa Institute back in '84. So in 2 months after Turkey made the application, a law was passed for establishing the European Community Institute in Marmara University. That was 18 June 1987. And our professor, rector, Orhan Oğuz, said, Haluk, come in. Okay, start. And then we had a building which used to be accommodation for administrative personnel, logement, as they used to say. We had a small room where secretary sat, another room where I sat. So the first thing I did was to call Professor Lassoc. I don't know if he remembered me or not. We didn't have a person who said, we established this European Institute. Would you be interested to come? And I arranged with the British Council. We didn't have budgets at the time. So the British Council said, yes, we covered the airfare. And Dominic Lassoc arrived the day when we started the institute. You've seen the picture where Minister Professor Ali Bozer and the rector and so on, Professor Lassoc was there at the opening session. And I went to the airport, Yeşilköy Atatürk Airport, to meet Dominic Lassoc. And but when he arrived, I said, you know, you came all the way without knowing the address of the institute, without knowing anything. He said, well, I trusted you. So that all started this way. And the rector, Orhan Oğuz, there was a program in Habertürk News Channel that he's now 94 years old. And the rector and the students of Anadolu University came to visit him at his house. So he said, we'll give an apartment flat at Küme Sokak, Göztepe, Küme apartment. Very small place. So Dominic Lassoc settled there. Sometimes his wife Sheila used to come. But every day, the driver of the institute, Dilaver, used to pick him up from Küme Sokak, bring to the institute. Every day he gave his lecture, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then took him back. And this started in '87 until 1996. And when I left the institute because we had a rector who used to say, you were arguing about this customs union. You are always on TV. You are the only guy in the universities to argue for the customs union. But the result of the customs union will be bad, and you'll be responsible for that. This was a minister who later became a minister, but they were probably in the same religious organization, tariqat, whatever. And so the rector didn't want me to continue. And I went to Cyprus, became the president of a small university. Dominic Lassoc came to Cyprus, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. He said, Haluk, are you going to stay here a long period of time or short period of time? I said, I'm not going to stay here a long period of time. He said, government of Poland proposed that I teach in my native country. I think first it started in Poznan, later Krakow, Warsaw universities. I said, no, I'm not going to stay. I said, then I can go to Poland. You can see his gesture, kindness, consideration, whether I stay there or not. So our relations were like father and son, and like on the same family. And of course, during his stay, they have visited all the churches of Istanbul. I didn't know that we had so many churches. the church in Kadıköy at Cem Sokak was a regular place that they used to go, but they visited other churches. And I used to wait for him every Sunday about 11:30 so I can take him to have a fish at Koço's restaurant. And the people used to see me, Rector of Europa Institute, waiting in front of a church. What is this? You know? And but we had an excellent time. You've seen some pictures. It was with Emile Noël, who was the first Secretary General of the European Commission for 30 years. And Emile Noël was born in Istanbul in 1922 and later became the rector of European Institute, the University Institute in Florence. And so we had the very distinguished people, not only Dominique Lassault, but also Emile Noël and others. And one of the pictures you have seen was with the Prime Minister of the country at the time, Mr. Turgut Özal. One of our students, Kabaalioğlu, met a girl in the EU class, but they were also in the Robert College together. So they decided to marry and invited me and Professor Lassault to their wedding, which was in the Army Ordevi in Harbiye. And he said his father was a barber in Divan Hotel, and Turgut Özal used to have his hair cut there. When he was a little kid, Özal promised that he would attend his wedding. So they said, he's coming also. I said, we sat at the table and expecting. Özal came around 11 o'clock at night. He said there was a national security meeting and I was late. So Dominique Lassault also had long conversations with the Prime Minister of Turkey, later President Turgut Özal. So we had a long periods of cooperation, friendship, and Turkey and Istanbul was very fortunate to have Dominique Lassault. Sheila, his wife, used to come from time to time. And of course, Sheila always used to say, we should go to Dominique Lassault. So I was always taking sides with Dominique. Dominique was always quiet. He didn't say his wife, he kept talking and talking all the time, but always criticizing me. So she didn't like me because I was siding with Dominique. And also Marc Lassault was a painter. Sometimes he had difficulties to pronounce words, and she would always say, speak correctly. You know, he had this natural thing, and then she was always criticizing. And in the church in Cem Sokak, they realized that the dome paint was falling down. So, as real religious people, Mark said, but we can paint this. So he invited somebody from UK to help him. And unfortunately, during this operation, when he was high on the dome, he fell down and the accident. So we lost Mark at that time. And so that was a sad period. Dominique was shaken. He had difficulties to speak. And the church administration was summoned to the police station. How come you are having somebody work, a foreigner without a permit, to work in the church? You know, this is black market employment. And the church people said, we'll take care of all this, funeral expenses, etc. But 10 days later, Dominique arrived. He said, I'm going to pay all the expenses of the church paid. I said, look, they undertook them. I'm an honorable man. I must pay this. So I would like to tell you that he was really an exemplary person, not only academically, but personally. And his academic qualifications were really up standard. And there used to be people from the commission, experts, coming to lecture, say, which book you use in EU law? I said, I don't know, Dominique Lassault. You mean he comes in person? Everybody was surprised that a name like Dominique Lassault was lecturing full-time at Marmara University. I said, of course in person. We don't have a TV or Skype at the time. So He was remarkable, and we always miss him. And he wanted to invite an advocate general, which Paul used to work at the European Court of Justice. What was his name? Mr. Slynn was going to come. But in the memorial in the church in London, I went, and Mr. Slynn was there trying to put his coat on. I said, I help you. He said, who are you? He said, I'm the one who invited you to come to the Institute. He says, Dominique Lasso. So we had a long periods of cooperation. Today, I'm grateful to Marmara University that they organized this meeting to commemorate and to remember Dominique Lasso. Also, I'm very grateful to Paul Lasso, who's been leading EU lawyer after his father in UK. He worked at the European Court of Justice with Gordon Slynn. Later, he's been a lawyer in London. He has been the president of European Union Lawyers in London, and he worked in one of the largest firms in London as its president, Moncton. And he retired recently, so he kindly accepted our invitation to come to this meeting. We are very grateful. Also, his wife, Karen, is here. She used to be an interpreter at the Commission, so they are both European Union. Of course, you may ask him questions about Brexit. They are all really very sad. Karen says that she used to demonstrate every Saturday in London for a new referendum. Remember, on the television there were people with European flags, etc. So she was one of those. But I don't want to talk too much. Now it's Paul Lasso's turn. Normally in such conferences they put 20 minutes. If people comes all the way from a long distance, 20 minutes, I said it's crazy. And then I also have a rule. They start thanking the organizers, which takes another minute or so. I said, don't do this too. So Paul has an unlimited period of time to talk to us about his aspects, his opinion about European Union, Brexit, whatever. And he also accepted to have questions from the audience. Paul, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honour and a pleasure to be invited to speak to you today at the start of a conference being held in honour of my father. He spent many happy years teaching EU law in Istanbul, and he and my mother made many friends here, some of whom I can see are present today. As an introduction to your discussions about the past, present and future of Europe, and at the risk of anticipating some of the themes in this conference, I am going to make a few points about the beginnings of the European Union, its transformation in the 1990s, and about where we seem to be today.